welcome to Xinhua Live.
Hello everyone, I'm Liang Saiyu, Xinhua News Agency, and this is Helen Bentley.
Also with Xinhua News Agency, and we're here in the province of Zhejiang, which is lovely today. It's fresh and cool, and it just smells like the countryside, and we'd really like to share with you the story behind this area and how it relates to President Xi Jinping.
Yeah, Zhejiang is our first stop of the 5 from Shanxi to Shanghai to search what the making of Xi Jinping, right?
Exactly, that's right. And yeah, you're right, our penultimate stop, our next one will be Shanghai,
yeah.
But this episode, all about Zhejiang.
Yes, in this episode, we will take you guys a virtual tour around this beautiful place. It's called Yucun Village in Anji County in Zhejiang Province. And it's about 1,200 kilometers away from Beijing. And in this place, you will find a sea of bamboos. And just look behind us. You can see this beautiful sea of bamboo. And this place has about 600 kilometers of hectare of bamboo forest here. And these bamboos are called Maozhu, the hairy bamboo, and they can use to preserve the waters and cleanse the soil.
Yeah, and in fact this whole province has got, and this county in particular, has got lots of different types of bamboo. There's over 50 types of bamboo here, and they use it for anything from making clothes to drinks, because we had bamboo drink last night, didn't we?
Yeah, and they also can be made of furniture.
Yes, of course, yeah. Many things. In fact, there's a bamboo expo, right?
Yeah. But Helen, can you imagine that this place, about just a few years ago, this place, there's excessive mining, and the over-reliance on the limestone mining used to be the pillar industry of this local economy. Yeah,
that's right. And then there was a shift in the actual structure of the development mode here, and it was actually all inspired by something that Xi Jinping said, actually, and he helped to really kick the changing of the development pattern. So if you have a little look to our left here,
you can see this huge stone. And there are characters inked on it saying the clear waters and large mountains are as valued as gold and silver.
That's right, yeah. I'm just going to show you a little picture here. So this is a picture of one of the limestone, or is that a cement factory? That looks like a cement factory. One of the factories basically that was here back in the early 2000s. So this was, like you said, the backbone of the economy here. And obviously this is a rural area, so this would have actually employed a lot of people.
Yeah,
I've got one more here. Oh, it's the last one, of course.
This one.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, this one.
You can have a little look there.
Yes. You can see, actually the old farmers still remember the explosive of those mines, and the dust was seen flying over the bamboo forest all the time, and the waters are darkened by the runoffs of the factories. Actually, those over-reliance on limestone have made great cost to the environment, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
why Xi Jinping came here in 2005 in August, and he encouraged the villagers not to walk on the old paths. And he said that old path is not sustainable development at all, and they should pursue green economy.
Yeah, that's right. And then there was a huge shift at the early 2000s towards changing this. So one of the things is that people moved towards tourism, and this area, if you have a little look over here, wait for this person to drive.
Yeah.
So this whole road over here opposite us is actually homestays or bed and breakfasts. So have a little look while we cross the road, so you guys are safe crossing the road.
And while we're walking, you can see this beautiful village. It's very quiet and very refreshed. And this beautiful building is opened by the locals. They use it as B&B to receive tourists all over the world. Right?
Yeah, so there's over 300,000 tourists that come to this area every year, and I just want to show you a little picture of this high street before the developments were built so that people could stay here. And one of the big draws is actually what we were talking about before, wasn't it, Sai? So people come here to look at these beautiful bamboo forests.
Yeah.
And in fact, the bamboo forests have been featured in films. They're and they're also just a really nice place to hang out and to enjoy nature, right?
Yeah, that place called the Sea of Bamboo, and it is where the film Hidden Dragon, Crouching Tiger.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah, that's its famous one.
Yeah. And if you guys visit here, you must have take a look at this place. And that's where Xi Jinping first put the notion of clear waters and green mountains are as valuable as gold and silver. And since then, the villagers here have stepped on the path of sustainable development. They developed the tourism industry as well as bamboo industry, just as Helen mentioned.
Yeah, because obviously what happened was when they decided that they had to shift the development mode here, from the early 2000s, all the limestone mines and all the cement factories began to be decommissioned.
Yeah.
And obviously, that was really good news for the environment. As you can see, it's had a beautiful result here. But that did mean that half of the village here lost their jobs.
Yes.
And we were talking to a gentleman earlier on, and he used to be a driver at a limestone mine. His name is Mr. Hu. And he earned around $5,000 a year driving cars for the limestone mine. And then he was one of the people that lost his jobs. But then he actually changed his job. Well, he had no point, right? He had no choice. So he changed his job, and he actually has a rafting business and a homestay as well, right?
Yeah.
And his wages have gone up phenomenally. Like, so it's helped the environment, and it's also helped the locals to improve their own living standards, right?
Yeah.
Because actually at the time, even when she came here, Zhejiang was one of the richest provinces in China anyway. There was a lot of businesses that were, state-owned, but also private sector was huge here. And she realised that, this sector was obviously really going really well, but perhaps they needed some encouragement, some support from the central apparatus to enable them to grow. Because what do businesses do? All businesses across the board generate money. They help the economy with their money, but they also generate jobs, right?
Yeah.
So he actually went about rolling out spate policies. One made it easier to establish a private business. It cut red tape. And then the other one, if that I can remember off the top of my head, sorry, was that they made it easier for private businesses to gain access to financial services.
Yes.
So, making it easier to create your business and then making it easier to gain the financial capital and, the supportive services to run that business and to go ahead with it.
Yes,
right?
that's why we visited Jili as one example of the private enterprises. And I remember that when she arrived in Zhejiang in 2002, Zhejiang already has over 240,000 private enterprises.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That can be said unmatched in the nationwide.
Yeah. And even today, Zhejiang is home to 120 of China's top 500 private businesses.
Yeah.
So you can really, that sort of stands testament for how successful the policies were, right?
Yes, of course.
And hold on, I just want to stop here because I have a picture of where we're standing right now.
Oh, really? Is
Yeah.
that the same place?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is this building here.
Oh, I cannot recognize it.
It is pretty unrecognisable. And then we're standing sort of here where these people are. So hold on, I'll be this lady.
Okay, you're in red, right?
That's right, I'm the lady in red.
Okay, so when did the photo take?
This is in the early 2000s, I believe.
Okay, just in 10.
Yeah, 10 years ago. Yeah, exactly.
And this is actually this place of Hu Jiaxing, right?
Yep.
And we also paid visit to Mr. Hu to find out his story. And he is among one of the villagers who lost his job from on the mines. Yes, on the mine at first, and then he find his another fortune of his life in the green economy. And you can see that's what the place looks like just 10 years ago. 10 years.
So I just want to pull your attention to some beautiful scenery. If you just want to turn around, lovely cameraman. This is the sea of bamboo of which we speak. You can see it just sort of peeking up over the top of these trees over here. It's lovely. The green goes on for as far as the eyes can see, right?
Yeah. And she stayed in Zhejiang for 5 years, since 2002 to 2007. And during his tenure, so one journalist has posed a question to him.
Yeah. I quite like this because, so yes, that's right. A journalist asked him to score his achievements in the province. And the president turned around to the journalist and said, well, how can I do that? How can I give myself a score? Because if I gave myself too high a score, I sound overconfident, right? If I give myself too low a score, then I sound like I've got no confidence whatsoever, right? And he said, you know, it's not up to him to give the score, it's up to the people who gives the score, right? Because it's the people who we as officials serve. And I thought that was like,
And people has been always on the mind of Xi Jinping during his political career, starting from Shanxi to Zhejiang, right? So Helen, before she arrived in Zhejiang in 2002, he worked in Fujian for 17 years.
That's right, the longest posting of his career. I mean, he had multiple roles there, but it was the longest time that he was in one province for,
and I know you've just visit there. So
that's right, the beautiful province of Fujian. I mean, you know, I've been very lucky to have gone to some wonderful places in this search for the making of Xi Jinping. And Fujian was one of the, you know, in terms of our search, it was one of the most difficult, if I can say that, just because it was 17 years, you know, and, you know, so he actually achieved so much, you know, so much there, so many projects there. One key thing, which I think relates to a bit to where we are here, because, you know, this is a rural area, you know, and she came here to Zhejiang in the early 2000s. So by this time, you know, there were roads and there was ways to get here, you know, and obviously because it had industry, they had to get the products out. But she went to one village in Fujian, and there was no paved roads there, and it was an arduous journey that he had to take by foot and car and horse, and, you know, like all these different ways to get there. And when he got to this small village, he found out that there was only one suitable place to have a meeting, which was this beautiful, like 200-year-old wooden bridge that went over a river, which was a beautiful location, but, you know, like hardly suitable to have a meeting. You know, so one of the first things that he set about was trying to address the things that they lacked in this small village. They called it the 5 withouts. So it had no electricity, no paved roads, no running water, no fiscal revenue, and and it was very poverty-stricken because of what the reasons I've said. You know, it was remote and it was far away. And in fact, I met a fantastic man who was a farmer who grew tea. And he said that he actually served Xi tea while he was there. And he said that Xi was actually the first official to ever make the journey to go to that village. So the first high-ranking official to make the effort to go to that small village. And in my understanding, Xi went there on a couple of occasions and, you know, and then returned again. And so he's really seen how policies and how measures that he implemented all those years ago have managed to develop. Because again, 17 years is a long time to be in one province. So, you know, as an official, I bet for him, he could really see the difference that the measures that he was making were having on the communities.
Yes.
So that's just one story. I mean, there's so many more with Fujian. So this is our 4th stop in 5. As we search for the making of Xi Jinping. And we started off in Shanxi, and we're going to end our last stop in Shanghai, which was his final position before he rose to the central leadership. So if you want to find out what happens in Shanghai,
please join our next stop in Shanghai, and thank you for seeing us. And I'm Liang.
And I'm Helen. Thank you very, very much.
Yes,
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.